All right, guys, how you doing? It's Josh coming back at you with another video. All right, so here I am in my apartment again, and the reason I'm here is because I'm in quarantine once again. Reason for that is I just returned from leave. All right, so that's what we're going to be talking about today: the leave process and how that has changed during COVID, and the steps that you need to take to have a successful trip. Okay, so I'm going to break this up into two videos. The first video is going to be a outbound, on your way from Osan or Korea to the continental US or whatever country you're going to. And then the second video is going to be the return trip from your leave destination. The reason I'm breaking it up is because the process is pretty lengthy on both ends, and just to make it easier for you to separate the two, to refer back to. All right. So here we are. It's mid-tour. You're looking at, taking some leave at this point, and you're ready to go, excited to go see your family and your friends. What are the steps you're going to take? So the first step is to select your leave dates that work for you, and then very vital and very critical that you clear those dates with your chain of command. All right. So the reason this is so important is that with COVID and the quarantine process, a lot of squadrons have placed quotas on the amount of people that can be off peninsula at any given time. All right. My example, in my squadron, it's 10% right now. So I had to make sure that those dates were good with my command team. All right. So step two, once you've cleared those dates, you can go ahead and purchase tickets at this point. Now, something to take into consideration when you're purchasing your tickets is that a lot of things can happen in this process, and it's an ever-changing environment, so you want to make sure that these tickets are refundable or adjustable in some way without a significant financial penalty to yourself. Regardless, be aware that's a possibility. All right, so make sure that when you purchase these tickets, if the airline or the company you're going through has an option to do that, to adjust dates if required, that you select that option. Okay. Step three, you're going to start running your leave checklist. Okay. I will say that it is important to get started on all these sooner rather than later. These leave checklists can be pretty long, and right now there's a lot of steps you have to go through. So the sooner you can get on this, the better. All right. Everyone's leave checklist is going to be different in your squadron. One thing is that is going to be common across the fighter wing right now is that you have to generate a quarantine action plan. Okay. Now this is if you want to quarantine in your own residence, your dorm room or your apartment off base, or your apartment on base. Okay. So it's important that you are doing this step. Now the quarantine action plan basically is a plan that you have written out, and you should be able to get what this looks like from your CSS, but it's a plan, and it basically says, this is my plan for how I'm going to quarantine when I get back. All right. This is how I'm going to transport to and from quarantine. This is the food I have stored away. If I need something, this is the people I'm going to reach out to. If there is an emergency, this is who I'm going to reach out to. All right. It's better to be as detailed as possible in this to help your command team make that decision to approve your quarantine action plan. All right. This has to be signed by an 06, okay? 06 and up. So the sooner you get on this and the more detailed and more accurate it is, the easier life will be during this part of the leave checklist. Okay, so now once you've run through your leave checklist, you've got that done, the next thing you need to do is schedule your outbound COVID test, all right? This is gonna be done at the med group. When I had it done, it was on the 3rd floor of the parking lot across from the commissary. That's where it has been for some time now. It might change by the time you watch this video, so just make sure you know where your COVID test is going to be at, all right? So the COVID test has to be completed within 72 hours of your departure from Korea, okay? So 72 hours from the time you fly out, that's when you have to get your test done within that window, okay? With the COVID test, how you get that schedule is you need to coordinate with your commander support staff, your flight leadership, and your first sergeant, okay? Start with your flight leadership, and that will kind of let you know where you need to go to get that test scheduled, all right? You will get a date from them. You report there, get your test accomplished, and then you'll get the results back. Now, those results typically are generated and returned to you within 24 to 48 hours, okay? You can get these one of two ways. You can call the med group and then report to the med group itself and pick those up in person, all right, that paper copy, or you can get on TRICARE Online and print those out, okay? I'm gonna do a separate video on TRICARE Online on how to navigate that, and I'll put a link in the description for you guys. And that's good for pretty much anything you need to do on TRICARE. That's going to be kind of general, but your results will be in TRICARE Online if you want to get them that way. Regardless, it is important that you have these printed out and have a couple copies, okay? Don't just keep it digitally in an email. You don't know what's going to happen with your phone. You need to have that physical copy in your hand, okay, before you travel. Okay, so the next step in the process is getting from Osan to Incheon Airport, okay? You can do that a couple ways. This is not as structured as on the return trip, so you can take the bus that leaves from Osan that we have here. I took mine at like 6 in the morning, got me there about an hour, so easy trip. You can take the city bus, you can have a buddy drop you off. However you need to get to Incheon, you just have to get there, okay? Make sure you have that COVID test with you though before you go. Okay, so we're almost there. We are at Incheon Airport now, and what do we need to have in our possession before we can fly, okay? 3 key things you need to have, okay? You need to have your leave Form 2 signed by your commander, okay? You need to have your original orders that you arrived at Osan with, and you have to have your COVID test in hand, okay? When you're going through and you're checking your bags and checking in to actually fly, they're gonna ask for these things, okay? So ensure that you have those. All right, so I mean, that about wraps it up. At this point, you're just gonna fly and fly safely and watch your COVID mitigation and be safe and have a good trip. So stay tuned for part 2, the return. That process is a little more detailed, and I'm gonna kind of fill you in on how that's gonna look so you're not surprised on anything. So okay, if there's anything I forgot to cover, and if there's any questions you guys have, please leave them in the comments. I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Like I said, I'm back in quarantine, so not much to do. All right, thanks guys.